The landlord continued to ignore us, so we took her to small claims court. She tried to tell the court that we were terrible tenants and destroyed her property, but we'd been so thorough with documenting all of the repairs, they basically laughed her out of the courtroom. Justice being served.
I love when things work out.
Yeah. Hey everyone, welcome back to Delve Deck Stories. I'm Gabe and I'm here with Tess, and today we're gonna dive into some stories about revenge. So, let's get into it. This story comes from Alyssa, and it's the question, where's the worst place you've ever lived? And it's from the venting edition. The house itself wasn't great, but what made it the worst was my ex-landlord. We rented a house from this older woman that was a little run down, but still perfectly fine for me and my boyfriend. The problem started once repairs became an issue. We were very good tenants, we kept the place in good order, always paid rent on time, didn't really bother the landlord about anything. In fact, we even made minor repairs on our own to avoid contacting her since she was so hard to get a hold of. We couldn't get her on the phone, she only replied to email, and would always take days to reply. Sounds like a pretty normal landlord. The first repair issue was the air conditioning. The unit was old and began to collect water, which was then leaking out and damaging the floors, which, as I know as a tenant, water damage on the floors can be a big issue when it comes to deposit time. We pressed the landlord to send a tech to fix it and warned her that the falling unit was damaging the floors, but she was being unresponsive. Finally, we said we'd find a contractor for her and pay for the repair and just deduct the cost from the rent. She didn't respond to any of this, so we told her if we didn't hear back, we'd do this since the repair was becoming urgent. We had all of this documented in writing over email. We got the unit fixed and sent her the receipt and paid rent less the cost of the repair. Seems pretty reasonable.
Yeah,
That's
especially if she's not responding.
That's all documented.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all there to be like, hey, there's an issue, you're not responding, I'm gonna fix it, and so, makes sense. A couple months later, my boyfriend got stuck in the bedroom. Oh. Wow. The doors were so old and rusty that the handle got stuck and couldn't turn, so there was no way to open the door. Oh man. We were forced to break the door down to get him out of the room, and the door jamb needed repairs and replacement parts. Again, we emailed the landlord and told her what happened and told her that this needed to be fixed. Again, she ignored us, and we told her if we didn't hear back by X date, we would have the repairs done and deduct the cost from the rent.
Is this landlord dead?
She's just money going into the account.
They said she was old, so...
She's gonna show up and she's just like a...
She's a ghost. Yeah. She just starts being like, you still owe me all this money.
Every time one of these issues came up, we were meticulous about documenting everything, taking photos, writing about what happened. We kept all the repair receipts and sent them to her. We gave her plenty of time to reply to us and told her if she didn't reply that we'd have to make these repairs and deduct the cost from the rent. Okay. Very smart. Always do this, always document. Receipts are key. A week after the door incident, someone broke into the house and smashed a sliding glass door to get in. We told the landlord she'd have to repair the broken glass door. Again, she ignored us, so we looked into repair costs. We were able to get quotes on repairs from the burglary, but between the cost of repairs associated with the rusty old door handle and the burglary cost, the out-of-pocket expenses for us would exceed what we were about to owe in rent. We told the landlord over email that we couldn't deduct the repair cost from the rent this time because the repair cost would exceed the cost of rent. We told her she was going to have to pay for this herself. At least in the state of California, you have so many rights as a tenant to be protected against stuff like this. But
I mean, that's the only, I think, benefit of renting is like, oh, I don't have to deal with things, and you do have to fix this.
Yeah, I would love to own a home. But then I also remember plumbing, air conditioning, heating, everything.
Yard, whatever's happening with that. Yeah,
the
there's a lot
that break down.
And I know ultimately it is probably a better situation, but it is nice to just have supposedly a person who will just fix things.
Yeah. And not my problem, you know?
Yeah.
That's a you problem.
Yeah.
We got a snippy reply back that we've been destructive to her property and she was sick of paying for repairs and that we needed to move out immediately. We replied back explaining that she could not evict us with zero notice. Very true. That we actually still had a month left on our 12-month lease and that the state required 60 days notice to force us to vacate. Smart tenant. So we boarded up the broken glass door and went to work looking for a new place. We ended up finding a new place fairly quickly and paid what we determined to be the last of our rent that we owed, less the cost of repairs we were forced to make. We told the landlord to send out a security deposit to our new place. Ooh.
I have a feeling they're not getting that.
Yeah, I don't know. If they've been unresponsive so far, I have a hard time thinking they'll be. When we moved out, we left the old place in immaculate condition and documented the condition with videos and photos. Very smart. The only defect was the glass door being boarded up. since she refused to repair or replace it and we didn't want to cover it for her. State law required her to return our deposit within 30 days, but 30 days came and went and we didn't hear from her. We told her if she didn't send it back, we would take her to small claims court. She replied saying she'd sue us, so now she responds.
Yeah, she really only responds when she wants to.
Yeah, when there's like a threat, an issue, you know. She replied saying she'd sue us for property damage and failure to pay rent in full since we had not paid rent in full on 2 occasions. Wonder why. The occasions where we didn't pay in full were the ones where we were forced to cover the cost of repairs because she was ignoring us. Alyssa, you're not in the wrong here.
No.
Your landlord is.
Yeah.
The landlord continued to ignore us, so we took her to small claims court. She tried to tell the court that we were terrible tenants and destroyed her property, but we'd been so thorough with documenting all of the repairs, they basically laughed her out of the courtroom. As they should.
That's why you document everything.
Bingo.
And know your rights in the state that you're renting in.
She literally cried in court. Oh, that's too bad. Trying to get the judge to feel bad for her. No, I'm sorry.
You lost your chance for that.
For our part, we brought in statements from the contractors who had done repairs while we were there that backed up our side of the story. The judge ordered her to return double the value of the deposit as a penalty for not returning the security deposit on time. Damn.
Nice.
Justice being served.
I love when things work out.
Yeah. That's called karma.
Yeah, let us know, I guess, whose side you're on. Maybe somebody's watching and
Do you think
they're
like, oh,
they're pro-landlord.
I'm a landlord.
Some people are pro-landlord.
Oh.
Some people are. You can be an okay landlord, but you don't have to do this.
I've had great landlords.
Great ones?
Yeah, I've had some great ones. They lead with empathy.
Yeah, that's
nice. They
nice.
understand humans, and they aren't like profit driven.
Yeah, I feel like I just haven't known most of my landlords.
Oh, yeah, that's another one.
I love that.
Is it just like the management side that you just go through?
Yeah.
Next story. This next story comes from Perry, and it's What's Your Not My Proudest Moment story, and it's from the Venting edition. When I was in middle school, I went over to my friend Alex's house for a sleepover. Our friend Ted was also spending the night. Alex also had a little brother Michael, who was about 9 at the time. Being hormonal 13-year-olds, aka assholes, we were pretty mean to Michael.
As an older siblings.
Been there.
Sorry.
Done that. I think back and I'm like, I probably shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm like, oops.
But no one stopped me at the time, so
I was a child.
Yeah.
You know what?
Can you really blame us?
Was I supposed to be nice to my sister? Come on.
We didn't beat him up or anything. Well, that's good. But we spent all night teasing him. Wouldn't let him play video games with us and would play mean pranks on him for fun. That sort of thing.
Classic.
We'll see how this ends. That night, we decided to sneak outside and play in the woods near Alex's parents' house. Since Alex and Michael shared a room, there was no way we were going to be able to sneak out without waking him up. So we decided to just let him come along. We take some flashlights and we're playing flashlight tag, and then Ted has this idea to play a prank on Michael. He tells us we should all shut off the flashlights at the same time and hide, so Michael thinks he's alone in the woods. We all thought this was hilarious, so we agreed. When Michael had his back turned, we all dove behind some bushes, shut off our flashlights, and stayed silent. Michael starts calling out our names, screaming and crying while we were trying not to laugh. Then he went silent. We turn on our flashlights and call out to Michael, saying it was just a joke, but no response. After a few minutes, Alex starts to really freak out. We're searching everywhere for his brother, but he's nowhere to be found. We start to panic, thinking he'd been eaten by a bear or kidnapped or something. Oh, no. Like, are these woods known for bears?
I mean, I guess it depends on where you live.
I guess so.
Maybe.
Or there's some, boogeyman.
Why are you playing out in the woods where there's bears? Kids.
You're a 13-year-old boy, and you're like, let's have some fun. And you're like,
whatever,
reckless,
bears.
Yeah. We were all running around the woods for probably 30 minutes, freaking out trying to find him. We were all losing it. At this point, we gathered together next to a tree to try to figure out what to do next. We were all huddled together, huffing and puffing and trying not to cry out of fear and frustration when suddenly Ted goes, "Oh my God, is it raining?" As we all look around, getting soaked, we hear Michael cackling like a madman. We all shined our flashlights up at the tree, and there's Michael peeing on all of us. We all freaked out and started screaming. Hey, way to go, Michael.
Honestly, solid.
They asked for
it. As, again, older siblings, sometimes we did deserve
Yeah, you got to put him in check. Not just the brother, but his friends, too. And I guarantee after this, they probably never mess with Michael ever again.
Yeah, that's kind of, you kind of have to
Yep. And wouldn't you know it, honestly, I have to hand it to him. He gave us the scare of our lives and peed on us. We never teased him again.
Good job.
I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do. when you gotta go, you gotta go.
Yeah,
you know?
and when you've got, an older sibling, sometimes they are gonna be kind of a dick, and you gotta.
Also, that's a pretty embarrassing story to. Like, if you were to ever be like, oh, mom, dad, or like try to tell someone else to be like, he peed on me. It's like, oh, he peed on you? Okay, weirdo.
Yeah, it's like.
What are you into that?
Yeah.
That's a story that that will follow you for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And everyone's like,
That's like a funny story you tell later on when you're like an adult. And you tell your parents and they're like, what?
Yeah.
What were you doing?
Yeah. Because now this whole group, they're probably known as like
and
the
they
Piss
snuck
Bros.
Out.
Yeah, they snuck out. They played in the forest.
You're not telling your parents about that.
No, everyone is getting in trouble. Michael, probably the least out of anyone, honestly.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh, you bullied him, you teased him, you pranked him, you did all this stuff, and he peed on you? Sounds like he had it coming.
Yeah. My parents would be like, wow, it really sucks to suck for you.
Yeah. Karma. All right, next story comes from Chelsea, and it's what is the pettiest thing you've ever done? And it comes from the Deep Dive edition. My sister dated a guy for about a year who was a real nightmare. He wasn't physically abusive, but he pretty much checked all the other horrible boyfriend boxes. He'd gaslight her, compare her to his exes all the time, try to distance her from her family and friends, the works. I really hated this man and was thrilled when my sister finally dumped him. But of course, like any nightmare boyfriend, he didn't just go away in peace. He started calling and texting her incessantly, threatening all sorts of insane things if she didn't get back together with him. I kept telling her that she needed to block his number, and finally, after he sent her multiple unsolicited dick pics in the middle of the day, she did. Ooh.
In the middle of the day. I
so
don't
random.
send those ever, but like just in the middle of the day.
That is so weird to be like, oh, it's noon.
That is like a weird power move though.
Yeah. I mean,
like you're not doing, or he's just like, look what you're missing out on.
And she's like, no, not missing out on that. Yeah, hey guys, don't send dick pics unsolicited. Maybe just don't send them at all. You know what? That's a good. Life would be much easier if you just didn't do those things. Bro, in the comments.
Oh, you don't even send dick pics, bro?
Man, sorry. I respect women. Anyway, as we were on the phone and she's telling me all the horrible things that he did while they were together, even more than I'd previously thought, I was overcome with such rage that I had to do something about it. I hope that she goes like full like Batman, just like kicks his ass.
Yeah, this is a villain origin story.
She's like, but a good villain, a good vigilante. You know?
Batman.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't want to do anything that could come back to hurt my sister, but I needed to make him suffer. Good.
Good.
This dude was a teacher, and at the time, the Rate My Professors website was really popular. Oh man, I remember using that site all the time.
Definitely.
In high school and college. That was the real, if you really think about it, that was students bullying teachers.
Absolutely. It was great.
They're like, you didn't give me a good grade? Bullying you.
Yeah.
Every day I would go into incognito mode and submit multiple reviews of him as a teacher, tanking his already not that great score. All right, so it seems like it's pretty universal. This guy was a person.
Yeah.
I didn't want to make them seem like they were coming from a scorned ex or anything, so I made sure to talk about how boring he was, how his lecture sucks, and how he seemed like an idiot who didn't know anything about the subject matter. I also tossed in a few reviews about his breath stinking and to not sit in the front row. Given everything I knew about him, I had a feeling this website was something he checked regularly and really cared about. Seems like this guy's like pretty much driven on his ego. The way that I didn't tell my sister I did this until years later, and she confirmed he really was obsessed with Rate My Professor ratings. I hope he had a terrible time reading everything I wrote and that it still haunts him to this day. Good work. Good work. That's one of those things that I, really applaud. It's good. It's super petty, and I love it.
It's very petty.
It's so petty. Like I have done similar things when it comes to like a review of like a business where you like go in and they're super like.
You're like a top Yelp reviewer.
Yeah, everyone's like, super helpful, found this funny. So Chelsea, way to go. Our next story comes from Natalie, and it's what is the pettiest thing you've ever done? And it's from the Deep Dive edition. I worked at a marketing agency, and my coworkers and I were responsible for developing sales angles for different clients. Each week we had to submit ideas on a shared Google sheet with the client info, the pitch, and our name. Our boss would pick the ideas that he thought were the best so they could be pitched to the client the next week. Whoever had an idea that was picked got to do the pitch in the client meeting. I always got my pitches in early in the week because I wanted to just be done. But I started noticing that my coworker Simon kept pitching ideas suspiciously similar to mine, basically my ideas but reworked. Simon kept getting selected to do client pitches. I kept being ignored. Interesting. Well, already Simon sounds like an asshole. So whatever comes to Simon at the end of the story probably deserves it. I started paying attention to the sheet and taking screenshots when I put my pitches in. I was usually the first to pitch, and by the end of the week, Simon's pitches were in the sheet above mine. He was reordering the sheet to make it seem like he was submitting his ideas first. But by the time my boss got to my ideas, they looked like something he had already seen.
Come on.
Oh, God.
You're going to get caught doing this.
Yeah,
I
also,
feel like it's obvious what you're doing.
Yeah, but if the boss is like, oh, whatever, just put them in the sheet and I won't look at them until the end of the week.
Yeah, but somebody else knows. Like, you
Maybe.
think that
I don't know.
she's not going to do something about this? Come on,
We'll find
Simon.
out. When I first brought this issue to my boss, he brushed it off and said sometimes people have similar ideas and that he didn't think Simon would copy me. He was very clearly copying me, but I also didn't want to fight with my boss about it.
Your boss just like believes. I don't know.
It sounds like a lazy boss who's like,
he's
whatever.
like, whatever.
Do the work, hit the quota. I don't really care. As long as the clients are happy, then I'm happy.
Yeah. Hate that.
Yeah, this boss sucks. Whatever happens to this boss at the end, we'll see. I don't know. They probably deserve
I hope
it too.
she pees on him.
I'm out, and then just pees on the boss. Quite a way to quit. After this conversation, I decided I'd write my pitches, but save them on my computer and add them to the sheet right before they were due, so Simon wouldn't have anything to copy. Smart move. The first week I did this, none of Simon's pitches were selected, so I did it again. Same thing happened. This pretty much sealed it for me. Simon was relying entirely on my ideas to craft pitches. We had a pitch meeting coming up for a local coffee company, and I knew a bit about the company because I am a coffee fan and am already a customer of theirs. I decided to intentionally write a pitch that sounded good. Ooh.
I love this.
But would also not be well received by the coffee company. The coffee company was known for their unique coffee flavors, so I decided to write a pitch talking about why the coffee company is known for not adding flavors to the coffee, the opposite of what they were known for. I wrote a whole pitch about how flavored coffee is a cheap trick by bad coffee brands, and the best coffee tastes like nothing but coffee. I really made sure to do my best and most persuasive writing and turned it in early so Simon would take it. Of course, Simon took my pitch, and as soon as he did, I deleted my original version from the sheet and added my real pitch a few minutes before pitches were due so Simon wouldn't see it. Our boss loved Simon's pitch and said that he could present it to the client. I still had my own pitch all ready to go, talking about the unique coffee selection and the innovative flavor profiles the client was offering. The pitch my boss ignored. Anyway, we go to the client meeting, Simon delivers his pitch, and as expected, the client hated it. Boom.
Love that.
I had my pitch ready, so once the client started complaining that this was the wrong direction and that they actually wanted to see something highlighting their flavored options, I was like, actually, I am a customer of yours, and I love your flavored coffees. I have some ideas about how we could promote them. The client wanted to hear my ideas, and they ended up loving them and asking me to be their account lead. You should have seen the look on Simon's face in that meeting. It was priceless. He knew I had set him up to fail, and it had worked. That's what he gets for stealing my work.
I love that. That's a great story. Good for you.
I'm loving all these stories. All these people coming back, getting the karma they deserve.
Love petty. Just be petty.
Be petty. If you have this in your work scenario, you should definitely do the same thing.
Yeah.
Set someone up for failure. Embarrass them. Shame them.
Because you know you're in the wrong.
Yeah,
so exactly. It's like, I can't complain about it because I know I'm wrong.
Right. And it's like, what are you going to say? Oh, I copied or I cheated or I did this?
Oh, she convinced me to do this because I was copying her work.
Right.
No, you can't do that, Simon, can you?
So it also, you can't say that because it's like, oh, so you weren't doing your job?
Yeah.
So what are we paying you to do, Simon?
Yeah. Simon?
Simon sounds like a real asshole, and he definitely deserved what he got coming to him. I can only imagine also that he didn't last very long in this, because it reminds me like in college we do group projects.
Yeah.
And there may be like one or two of you who end up doing like a majority of the project, and then that one person, Simon, doesn't do any work, and he's like, oh, sorry, I had all this stuff. I'll just like write my name on like the cover sheet or whatever, and then they present a part of the project, and everyone gets to see them in the public setting. Is like, oh, well, Simon clearly knew what he was doing, but he didn't. All the Simons out there, you're all assholes. And if your name's Simon in the comments and you want to defend yourself, Good luck.
Try your best. So let us know in the comments if you have a petty story that we're gonna love, or submit them and we'll read them, or both, because I love it.
Yeah, I mean, if you got a vent, this is the place to do it. Well, that's it for Delve Deck Stories today. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed what you heard today and any of these petty venting stories, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment. And if you want to share your own story, make sure to go to share.delvedeck.com or pick up one of these Delve Deck products.